Good morning, children. In today's lecture, we are going to solve a long sum. I request you all to study this video carefully till end for complete understanding. And make sure that you have gone through the previous lectures before you start with the long sum. That is a part of today's lecture. This is our third lecture, and in the previous lectures, we had an idea about the important concepts of theory, and we discussed about the weightage and introduction of the chapter. It is chapter 6, that is retirement or death of a partner. In the previous lectures, we have understood important concepts of theory which are important for solving a long sum. I am repeating this again and again just because you pay attention to this. If you have not gone through thoroughly those concepts, then you should once study the previous lectures, and only then you can understand the things that I will teach you in this lecture. So we are going to start with illustration 13 for today, which is given on page number 227 of your textbook. This is illustration 13, page number 227 of your textbook. In the second lecture, I have explained regarding this particular question that what you are supposed to do and how do you decide and which are the necessary accounts that you are going to prepare. Yeah, this is the old balance sheet, and after this you are provided with the adjustments, and below that they have clearly instructed what you are supposed to prepare. That means whether you are supposed to write down the journal entries, which are the ledger accounts you are supposed to prepare, etc., etc. So during second lecture, we have gone through the entire question very carefully, and we have read that we are supposed to prepare the journal entries and the 4 ledger accounts. I mean 3 ledger accounts and a new balance sheet. So from which we are going to learn journal entries for today. The adjustments which are given below the sum, I mean below the balance sheet and old balance sheet. This one, page number 227, and if you turn this page in your textbook, there are several adjustments and which we are going to learn today. We are going to write the journal entries related to this adjustments, and we are also going to understand what are its effects in the ledger accounts and balance sheet. So if you have done homework that I gave you in the second lecture, that is the last lecture, previous lecture I mean, the homework was that you were supposed to write down the journal entries for revaluation of assets and liabilities, and also the concept of goodwill, which is going to be a part of these adjustments. And if we are talking about the effects in ledger accounts, so in the previous lecture I also asked you that you should be ready with your ledger accounts when we come to third lecture. And balance sheet, if we are talking about, you know very well that you are going to write down all the new values of assets and liabilities in the new balance sheet. Alright, so we have several important notes for today. That is, you should keep your textbook, as I said, and a writing book while watching this video. It is compulsory for you to do this in this lecture. And make sure that you are ready with the format of journal and ledger accounts as I instructed in last lecture. I asked you people that you should draw the necessary ledger accounts, label the same, and record the opening balances. Where do you write the opening balances? In capital accounts, you write it on credit side as by balance brought down, and you will write down you'll write down the respective amounts on credit side in the column of partners. Yes, then you will be writing an opening balance for cash and bank account on debit side of cash and bank account that you have prepared. And still, if you are going through any sort of confusion, then please keep your textbook open and put a pencil in your hand. Go on putting a tick mark over the items that are already done. That means if you have recorded the opening balance of capital accounts and cash and bank account, then necessarily you should put a tick mark in an old balance sheet with a pencil. I'll show you how. This is your old balance sheet, and you have prepared the necessary ledger accounts. I mean, you have drawn the formats. In that you have written the opening balance of capital accounts, that is X, Y and Z. So you should put a tick mark over there that this amount has been recorded. And further on debit side, it is bank balance. This is also written by you on debit side of cash and bank account that you have prepared. Yes? For a better understanding, the solution is given in your textbook. It is an illustration, yeah? So, after the adjustments, they have given journal entries, and thereafter they have prepared necessary ledger accounts. That is revaluation, partners capital, cash and bank, and balance sheet. Alright? So, please be careful and listen to whatever I speak. So as I said that we are going to start with the adjustments. So make sure you are ready with the format of journal and ledger accounts. If you have not prepared it, then it is a little bit difficult for you to understand. Yeah? So we are going to start with the very first adjustment for today, which is land and building is to be valued at 2,20,000. This is the first adjustment. It is given after balance sheet. This is your balance sheet on page number 227. And on page number 228, the adjustments are given, of which first adjustment is here. They say land and building is to be valued at 2,20,000. This is the new value of land and building. So let us see what is its old value. You can see this is balance sheet, asset side, land and building. It is 1,99,000. 1,99,000 is the old value, and new value is 2,20,000. So what is the amount of difference? It is 21,000. What do you interpret from this? That the value of an asset has increased. Yes? How do you understand this? Because we have already done this in chapter 5, and also the homework that was given to you regarding the journal entries of revaluation of assets and liabilities, the concept was covered there. So this adjustment is about revaluation of assets and liabilities. So let us check the journal entry for this. This is the journal entry that we are going to write for an increase in the value of land and building. Whenever the value of land and building, I mean the value of an asset increases, revaluation account is credited in the journal entry. So what you are going to debit? Obviously an asset. So land and building account debit 21,000. Now where does this 21,000 come from? It is the amount of difference between the new value and old value of an asset. 2,20,000 is the new value. What is the old value? 1,99,000. So the difference of these two values is 21,000. And in revaluation account, always the amount of difference is to be recorded. So we have 21,000 in the journal entry this way. Yes, I hope I'm clear with the journal entry. Now moving towards the effects. Every adjustment has two effects. Let us study the first from that. The first effect is in revaluation account. You can see revaluation account is already prepared in your textbook. It is prepared once all the journal entries are finished. You can see in that particular account. So revaluation account, the posting for this journal entry, you can also write down in your books if you are having with you right now. We are posting this journal entry in revaluation account on credit side with 21,000 rupees. I repeat, this is given in your textbook, as well as if you have prepared in your fair books the formats, you can directly write there, or else you can also check in your textbook the solution. After journal entries, ledger accounts have been prepared. This is the first effect for the first adjustment. Now talking about the second effect. Where are assets written? They are written on asset side of balance sheet. Right now we are talking about new balance sheet. It is also given in the solution of illustration 13 in your textbook. You can check there on asset side, the new value of land and building must be written 2,20,000. How? 1,99,000 plus 21,000 gives you 2,20,000, a new value. Alright? Moving towards the second adjustment, value of machinery is to be reduced by 30,000. Understand the meaning. What they are trying to say here is that the value of machine is reduced by 30,000. 30,000 is not the new value. It is the amount which has decreased. Yes? And as you know very well, in revaluation account, we always record the amount which has increased or decreased for assets and liabilities, or say provisions. Alright? So here in the second adjustment, they have directly told us that how much amount has decreased for machine. It is 30,000 rupees. So this is decrease in the value of an asset. So whenever the value of an asset decreases, revaluation account is debited. So the journal entry is revaluation account debit to machine account. This is your journal entry. Now the first effect. In your revaluation account, you must pay attention to the solution given to you in your textbook, and please check each and every account as per my instructions. So revaluation account on debit side 30,000. Then the second effect in balance sheet, asset side 1,50,000, the new value of machine. How? What is the old value of machine? It is 1,80,000. It is given in old balance sheet. Here you can see it is 1,80,000. And now they say that the value of machine has been reduced by 30,000. That means from 1,80,000, 30,000 has reduced. So what is the new value? It is obviously 1,50,000. Yes? Moving towards third adjustment, the provision for doubtful dates is to be kept at 10%. The journal entry for provision for doubtful dates is revaluation account debit 2000 to bad date reserve account. आपको ये जर्नल एंट्री तभी आएगी जब आपने पूरा revaluation का कंसेप्ट स्टडी किया है. The specimen entries of revaluation account, if you have gone through thoroughly, then you know well this is the journal entry for provision for doubtful dates. Now talking about the amount. Where did 2000 come from? Now if you will check your old balance sheet, this is your old balance sheet. You can see debtors here as 70,000. And you already have bad debt reserve as 5,000. And what does your adjustment say? That you are supposed to keep a bad debt reserve at 10% on debtors. So debtors are of rupees 70,000. 10% of 70,000 is 7,000. You are supposed to keep overall bad debt reserve of 7,000 rupees, of which you already have a bad debt reserve of 5,000. So now what is the amount of difference? It is 2,000. So you are supposed to keep 7,000, be it the 10% of 70,000, and from that already 5,000 you are having, so 2,000 more. So this is how 2000 has been written in journal entry. So this was the first effect for this adjustment, that you are going to write on debit side of revaluation account 2,000 rupees. Please check the solution in your textbook. Now the second effect, in balance sheet asset side you will be writing debtors. In inner column 70,000 minus bad debt reserve 7,000. How? 5,000 is already there plus 2,000. 2,000 is the amount of adjustment, and as I said, every adjustment is having two effects. So this way the net amount of debtors is 63,000, which is to be written in the outer column of balance sheet. The next adjustment is about workman compensation. They say liability of workman compensation is accepted at 15,000. Journal entry for this is revaluation account debit 5,000 to workman compensation claim account 5,000. You can well understand the journal entry, but let us talk about the amount. What about 5,000? Please check your old balance sheet. You can see there very well. On the liabilities side, it is workman compensation reserve, which is of 10,000. Yes? And in your adjustment, they say that the liability for workman compensation is accepted at 15,000. So what is the amount of difference? It is obviously 5,000. Now let me make it more clear. Workman compensation claim. It was of rupees 10,000 and a liability is accepted at 15,000. This simply means that you are supposed to pay 15,000. But the fund available with you is only of 10,000. So 5,000 extra is to be added. Yes? And that is the reason 5,000 is to be debited on revaluation. Is to be debited in revaluation account. And then the second effect in new balance sheet, please check the solution given in your textbook. In new balance sheet, the second effect for 5,000, it will be on liabilities side, workman compensation Workman compensation reserve 10,000 plus 5,000, and outer column 15,000. Yeah. Now another thing related to this adjustment is that if you remember, while solving chapter 5, we used to distribute workman compensation reserve. But during that time, there was no adjustment applied over it. You can distribute this amount among partners in their old ratio only if the adjustment related to this reserve is not given. But during this sum, they have given a related adjustment to workmen compensation fund, and that is the reason we have not distributed it. Instead, we have written it as a liability. Your adjustment simply says that you are supposed to pay 15,000 towards workmen compensation. That means the firm is liable to pay 15,000. Alright? So the next adjustment and important adjustment is adjustment 5, which is related to goodwill. Goodwill of the firm is valued at 1,60,000. Now, please understand carefully, this is the new value of goodwill, which is of rupees 1,60,000. And you also have some old value of goodwill in an old balance sheet. Yes? Y's share in goodwill is to be adjusted through the capital account of X and Z. Now let us quickly revise the points that we have understood related to goodwill in previous lectures. Goodwill. The amount of goodwill is to be paid to retiring partner by continuing partners in their gaining ratio. Yes? And that is the reason that their capital accounts, that is existing partners' capital accounts, will be debited. Why? Because amount will be reduced from their balance of capital just because they are going to pay. Yes? And retiring partner's capital account will be credited. Why? Because that particular partner is going to receive his share of goodwill. Yeah, capital is always having credit balance. So whenever some amount is to be added up in your capital account, then capital account is to be credited. And whenever you pay an amount, that time capital account is to be debited. So now an important question here is that how much amount is to be paid to retiring partner? Why is a person retires? X, Y, Z. Y from this retires. Yes? Understand. The new value of goodwill is 1,60,000. We'll find out the share of goodwill of Y on the basis of his share in profit. How do you get to know about this? They have clearly presented the old ratio here. This is your balance sheet, and on the next page of your textbook, page number 228, if you will see, before the adjustments, they have given the old ratio of partners. So keeping that ratio in mind, Y's share is 3 by 8. What is the old ratio? 3:3:2. So what is the share of Y? It is 3 by 8. 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. So this way 1,60,000 into 3 by 8. By doing so, you obtain the share of goodwill of retiring partner. So one thing is clear here, that Y is to be given 60,000 rupees as his share of goodwill. Who is going to pay? The continuing partners, that is X and Y. Yes? So let us come to the journal entry now. X capital account debit, Y's capital account debit to Z's capital account. I have already explained this. Just because X and Y are going to pay, their capital accounts have been debited, and Z is going to receive, hence his capital account has been credited. This is going to be the journal entry for goodwill, for the adjustment of goodwill in each and every sum that we are going to do ahead. Yes, now talking about the effects in partners' capital accounts. Understand, now look at this journal entry carefully. Debit भी partners capital account हुए हैं and also you have credited partners capital account again. So obviously both the effects of this journal entry are to be written in one account, and that is partners capital accounts. I request you all, please keep your textbook in front of your eyes and open partners capital accounts in that. Partners capital accounts. Yes. Look on debit side. There might be written to Z's capital account, and amount must be written in the column of X and Y, 20,000 and 40,000 respectively. This is how the posting of this journal entry works. See, as per the rules of posting, Z has been credited, so in the process of posting it is to be written on debit side. We have written it on debit side, and the amount is to be written in the columns other than the column of Z. Similarly, on credit side, you'll be writing by X capital account, amount in the column of Z, 20,000, then by Y's capital account and amount in the column of Z again, 40,000. Yes? Why we are writing amount in the credit column? It simply indicates that Z's capital has been credited when the amount is paid by X and Y. Same logic can be applied on debit side. X and Y's capital accounts have been debited because they have paid to Z. Alright? Please study this adjustment with extreme care. It is really important, and posting even. Now talking about the old value of goodwill which is given in the balance sheet. I am talking about old balance sheet. If you will see, on asset side it is written goodwill 40,000 rupees. Now, as I have taught you the concept of theory in the previous lecture, the old value of goodwill is to be written off among all the partners in their old profit loss sharing ratio. So this is the journal entry for the same. We have considered this journal entry in the previous lectures of chapter 6. So in case if you face any confusions, please go back to those videos and study them, then things will be clear. Now posting for this. It will be posted in partners capital accounts. On debit side, if you will check, they have written to goodwill account and the respective amount in the column of X, Y and Z, which is 15,000, 15,000 and 10,000. Alright, this is the amount of goodwill that we have distributed, that we have taken from old balance sheet. And this adjustment was about the new value of goodwill. Please don't forget. And yeah, in this journal entry, if you will see, the amount has been written off, or I can say given by old partners. Sorry, it is not written off, written off of course, but it is given by old partners in their gaining ratio. 1 is to 2. 60,000 in 1 is to 2. Yes? So that's all for today. We'll continue with this particular sum in the next lecture. Till then, you should practice all these adjustments, and you can let me know if you have any doubts. We'll see you all in next lecture. Till then, stay home and stay safe.